Okay, so welcome everyone. We have a fantastic segment for you. We've got the wonderful Cathy Elizabeth Tyson joining us. Her film LILIAN, which is her directorial debut, is with the film festival here in the US. And we have the opportunity to find out a little bit more about Cathy and her film. So Cathy, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jenny.
Cathy, you are an accomplished actress. You're a Golden Globe nominee, you're a BAFTA winner. You've done so much. You've actually turned down roles, which I'd love to talk about a little bit later on because of your particular ethos and your recognition of the power of representation, which is so fantastic to have that. But you've moved, well, you probably haven't moved away from acting because you also acted brilliantly in LILIAN and you were nominated for Best Actress Award in that, and we find out the results of that in a few days' time, which is exciting. Congratulations on that. And you also are nominated for Best Short Film as well, Best Narrative Short in the festival.
And also Best Supporting Actress for wonderful Katie Britton.
For the wonderful Katie Britton, absolutely, absolutely. This, your first film is just doing tremendously, so huge congratulations on that.
Thank you, Jenny.
And thank you for sharing it with us.
I mean, I feel privileged all along the way. Firstly, from reading about LILIAN in West Indian Women at War over 15 years ago, Colin Douglas and Ben Bouzikay's book, and then being offered money during the pandemic from a person who's admired my work, and that got me into action. And then all the support along the way. And I still can't believe that we've actually got a film, you know, because it's been an amazing journey. And all the, you know, I'm an actor, so my projects are 8 weeks at most theatre, 4 weeks rehearse, 4 weeks show. I think the longest run I've done in theatre, maybe 3 months. So this project was projected over a year and a half now. We finished it, started in August 2020, completed the film in August 2021, and now we are 2022. So being even on a project that length of time was something that I wasn't used to at all. But I felt spurred on, especially you know, by my producer, Natasha Marburger. And at the beginning, it had a different journey. Another friend was writing it. And when we lost our director, the original, I was producing it at first, as well as acting in it. But then the director got 3 series and a Netflix series. And I said, of course, you've got to go and do that. I wouldn't hold you back there. Etosha Hilton, who I've got a lot of respect for, last year, she won, you know her name. She won the an award at the American Black Film Festival for her film about hair. I think it was about, anyway, I can't remember what it was called.
Yes, I'm pretty sure she won something at iwilltell last year or a couple of years ago as well.
Maybe it was the same film. And so she came on board. But I said, of course you've got to go. And she said, but I can't. We had we had planned to do it July last year, and she said, but I can only do it in November. And I just thought, I can't do that, because I told my acting agent that I will do this film in July, and also I was worried that I'd lose momentum to actually do it. And I thought, I can't wait until November. What happens if something big comes for you then, and we just delay and delay and delay?
Yes.
So the writer of that film, LILIAN film, wasn't happy that I said, my producer said, this was your vision, I think you should direct it. And I thought, oh, I wasn't going to direct my first short. But my partner came on board and said, why don't you? So I took it to the writer then. The writer wasn't happy about me being director and actor. She said, you can't act and direct in this.
Right. Yes.
And I thought, well, it is a short film. It's not a feature. So, you know, I've got 39 years experience in the business. You know, I've been on film sets. I've got a pretty good idea of what to do. So she left the project and took her script with her. So I was left without a script. And
wow.
6 weeks to shoot. So my partner came in and said, okay, if, you know, she doesn't do it, I'll write you a script. And in 24 hours, he wrote a short. He'd read the memoirs, 40-page memoirs of Lilian's, and we were in the Isle of Wight on a 4-day break. And I think if you're ever going to have a crisis, having one by the seaside really helps, because you can just go and look at the sea and take walks and that. And we sat on the beach, and he had the memoirs, and he is a writer, and I was very fortunate, but he felt so bad at the fact that she'd left with her script, and then he wrote this. So we sat there, for me and the producer were like, I wonder what's, but I had faith in him, because I'd read another script of his, and I knew he could write. And then I read the script, and I was delighted with it. And we set to work with the new script, which was completely different from the other one.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Which we had to cover ourselves, of course. So it's been quite a journey of this film, you know.
Yeah. Wow. So tell me but presumably all along you wanted to tell the story of Lilian, is that right?
I still do, but it's only 15 minutes. And I read the memoirs, and I had ideas. The memoirs are only 40 pages long in the Imperial War Museum in Britain. And certain things, I think when you're reading things, to go with what pops out to you. And Billy was one area. Edie's character is called Billy in the memoirs. And even that character, that person, it's not the real name, because Lilian wanted to protect Billy, because Billy was a thief.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, that's interesting. A thief comes into the barracks. That's an opportunity, a kindle, a flicker of conflict there. Yeah. You know, because you can see it and go, okay, she comes to the barracks. She's a thief. There was another drama going on, because of course the women weren't on the front line then, but there was a drama going on at home, because they kept the home fires burning in the forces. And so I thought, oh, that's interesting. So Cami knew that I thought that, and that's how he incorporated this person into the character. And of course, when the other script left us, I did some more research, and I discovered that Lilian had gone to night school in the 60s. You know, because no doubt there'll be more research, because I've talked to Brett a bit about her. So when you talk to family members, I've talked to one family member, Brett Barder, but other people bring stuff up. But this was stuff I found online, I think, about the night school. And I thought, oh, okay. And Cami put that in. I thought education, she's gone back. It's 1960. Yeah. Why I chose 1960 as a year is because significantly around the world, decolonialization, Black countries were getting their independence from Britain in the early 60s. And my parents met in 1960 and married in 1962. Yes. And I feel it's an interesting year for people across the diaspora, the 90s, well, of course, with Martin Luther King and stuff. But I thought set it in 1960. And also her children would have been maybe 15, 16 then. So she had a chance to try and go and educate herself, which she did. She went to university, she became a teacher, and I think she also became a lecturer at one point. So we married that with a theme of not being recognized, you know, and so he put that together in the books. In the history books of there isn't a black face amongst any of the people, and so that's what Cami came up with, and how he wove this plot into the secretary of the school in which Lilian's son goes to, and the battle that Lilian was having with the headmaster about wanting representation. And in those days, that would have been absolutely radical to say that. That's before any Black History Month. Black History Month wasn't even around when I was younger. So and that was in the days when older people kept quiet. Black people. And I talked to a Black woman in the library the other day, because Lilian was showing in the local library again, and she said, but she regrets that. She said, we kept quiet, it's different today, which is amazing.
It isn't a powerful thing about the older generation, because they actually, they had their own kind of activism,
Of
really,
course,
and they
I
had a
don't
different
deny that.
starting point. Yeah,
But also,
yeah.
I think their tenacity and an
Mm,
ability to stand up regardless. You know, there's things that they have that I think we can learn from. It's like Lillian was called Cherry after the
mhm.
black polished cherry blossom, and it's in the film,
Yeah,
Cherry Blossom, in the montage. You know,
yeah,
and she had to pick herself against hardships. And I thought, come on, she brushed stuff off and got on with it. And what was,
yes,
she was, I was saying to Cammy last night, you know, poor Lillian, she was prevented at first from contributing to the war. And then
yes,
in the 80s, she was criticized by young black people for being, and I thought, being in the war, and I thought, God, you can't win, can you? And
yes,
it's like, you
yes,
know, I just thought, why? She explained very, very calmly that, of
yes.
course, if Hitler was going to get the Jews, of course he was going to come for us. I had to. So it wasn't about being, you know, a mindless, uh, you know, kind of
Colonialized,
yes
yeah.
person to the colonizer. It was
Mhm.
like instinctively, they're going to come for me. I've got to.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So white
yeah,
people can't really see that. But
yes.
even possibly I couldn't as well until she, you know, explained it. And I thought, gosh, you know, you're criticized by white people, you're criticized by black people. But she'd taken criticism since she'd taken knocks since being a
Mm,
young orphan. And
yes,
I think it must have, you know, she's got a spirit of fire to
yeah.
be able to survive what she did.
At the height of your career, you refused to take any roles that would typecast you as a prostitute, for instance, because you got awards and so on for that, your tremendous work in that role. Tell us about your decisions to to take a particular journey in your acting career.
Just firstly as well, I've got absolutely no judgment against sex workers.
Yeah.
You know, some of them that I met in Band of Gold as well were, because when I did Band of Gold, which was,
Yes.
you know, sex work on a kind of everyday level, Simone in Mona Lisa was the kind of creme de la creme, sort of top flight, you know, clients and stuff like that, which you know, I'm far away from the creme de la creme world anyway. But when I did Band of Gold, I thought, you know what, I've got my own prejudices here and I need to smash them. So I went and did my own research and met people, and that did clear away any prejudices about these women. I went up, probably something crazy, probably something I wouldn't do now, on my own to Bradford on the front line, and walked straight up to them and said, I'm going to do a program and I'd love to be able to talk to you, probably by saying, because I need to kind of get rid of all my preconceived ideas about this.
Yes.
They were
Yeah.
fantastic, very
Oh,
moving.
wow. Yeah.
And because I have to kind of have an affinity with people that I'm going to represent or something, rather than sort of
Yes.
look down on them. That was amazing. Now,
Yes. Yeah.
um, you know, and I gave up, you know, there's some decisions that I've made, like I gave up working with Howard Davis and Kevin Spacey on The Iceman Cometh, because it was to play two working women to play a working woman from the Bronx, and they really, really wanted me. And I thought, well, I've done that type of role quite a bit.
Yes.
So I need to kind of be careful that I don't kind of slip into that, because not because of the type of role, but because of just I've done it twice before. And other things, you know, I guess being, I always, when I joined, I'm a pretty serious person. And I think when I became an actress, I just was aware of how women were in the industry. You know, you'd seen women kind of, and I thought, I don't think I have to take my clothes off
Yeah.
to get work. And even on Mona Lisa, I got a no nude clause in the contract. I was 20, and a lot of people, young people, and if you're listening out there, you know, they feel they have to just go with anything to get the job. But often what I found is when I put my foot down, I get what I want. You know, I'm not asking for millions of pounds, but it's like, no, I want to keep my clothes on in this movie. And they said yes. And
Yes.
I didn't have any power then, but I thought, no, I don't want to just be exploited for I was aware that there was exploitation there. So I just said, no, I don't want to do this because I want to keep my clothes on doing that. You know, I want to keep my clothes on. I'm a sex worker. It's possible. But it was possible. And I also didn't want to use my own name because I thought my name was rubbish. You know, I was 18. I disliked my name intensely. I always wanted to be something ordinary, like a Smith.
Really?
You know? Yeah. You know, Stacey Smith, I wanted to be, you know, because it just sounded cool. And I still think it does for any Stacey Smiths out there. But and Mona Lisa, they said, no, you will not do this. You must keep your name or you can't have the part. So I thought, all right, I'm going to keep my name. I want the part. And I'm so grateful for them for doing that. Now, as for other areas of activism or turning down certain parts, yeah, I've thought about that carefully, about, you know, how you know, yeah, as other actors have as well. And sometimes, you know, on reflection, you know, I'm 57 years of age now, and you do think, you know, maybe I mean, there was one thing I turned down, soaps wise. I'd always become an actor so that I can do different things. I'm not really good with doing the same thing for years.
Right. Yes.
This actor isn't, but some actors are. And there's a great benefit to doing a soap because you become part of a family.
Yes.
And the feeling of belonging is a human need.
Yes.
But back then I was very judgmental. Anyone who wanted to do a soap, they weren't real actors. Of course, I didn't think like that. And you know, and I was offered to, and I thought, no, not long term. I won't do that. I disdainfully turned them down. And I do think, oh my God, you know, but I did it for the, you know, I just thought, yeah, I became an actor so that I could do different things. If I wanted to do an ordinary job, then I could have done some. But acting for me was about new stuff, you know, and learning new stuff. So new characters, being challenged. Other areas of activism, I suppose, just for me, they can be very small. You know, when I was 18, I went to the Royal Shakespeare Company, and in the interview, even if I was patronised, you know, by one of the directors, said, "Oh, you're doing a Scouse Miranda," and Scouse is the accent that people speak in Liverpool. And I just turned around and said, well, listen, love, I'm not just doing it for my own backyard. You know, it's like, I was always brought up, my mother was a really clear speaker. So I was always brought up in a way that language, you know, needs to be clear so that people can understand what you're saying. So, and I got the job. So I get there are small areas of activism and bigger areas, but you know, whenever you stand up for yourself, and you know, but you know, I've been fighting a lot in my life, and I'm kind of not fighting now, but I've got to make progress, I feel, in a different way. But other areas, you know, went to the Black Lives Matter protests, and that was kind of organic for me, because it didn't happen until I knelt on my doorstep one evening, and I felt differently. I just thought, oh, I've never knelt on my doorstep before. It had a visceral feeling in me, so I thought, I'm going to go to the protests. So I went and socially distanced, and I tried to. I didn't pick up COVID as well, which was good.
Oh, well done. That's impressive.
Yeah, because I did socially distance. I had a mask on, and, you know, I didn't go into where they were in the middle. And I just thought, and then the statue came down of Colston in Bristol, and I was there when the news came. I was in Parliament Square when we heard the news, and it was very kind of, and it was lovely to see white, black in London. It was like an army marching across the bridges. It was. Yeah. That's something that I see in a film.
I was actually in Bristol at the time, and it was incredible. Yes. Yeah.
and it looked like a film, seeing people march across the London bridges as well. It was like, this happens in films and it's epic.
Yeah.
And it emboldened me, because especially with that, then came all the kind of conversations around microaggressions, and people were talking about books, you know, of and about suddenly before that moment, the George Floyd moment, I felt people would, I didn't feel I could talk about the microaggressions. And then after that, it was like, oh, I feel confident enough to talk about, you know, not be afraid, because the race card and woke are two, I feel, quite insulting phrases.
Yes.
That, and then I thought, oh yeah, well, it's not the race card. These things do happen, and it felt quite liberating. And it just so happened that at that time, this is when this money came, and when I decided to make this small company called Brown Girl Films, even in that making, because it was going to be interracial films. And then it was Brown Girl Films. And I felt emboldened because of the movement to say Brown Girl Films. I can do that now without fear. And then even when I was registering it with Companies House, the man on the end of the phone said, don't you think that's racist? They might not let that name through because
Really?
think it's racist. And I said, I really hear what you're saying there. And I said, if it was white girl films, it possibly would be considered racist. I think you have to look at the context. Brown girl films is there not because we're trying to be superior, but I'm trying to level the playing field and bring it, never mind level, but bring it into the playing area for a start. So there's a different context. So I talked to him on the phone, and then I said to him, where are you from? And he said, my background's Iranian. And I thought, well, I think he said Persian. And I thought, well, you know, surely you understand certain things about, you know, but obviously he didn't see himself as, as a diverse person. But anyway, the name did get through. And I guess there's going to be resistance every step of the way to, you know, as soon as one section of society gets a bit stronger, then another section sort of feels fear about that. But if we can all kind of like progress together.
Absolutely, because it's not a zero-sum game, right? People think if one goes up, that means I go down, rather than recognizing that if when the tide comes in, all the boats rise, then everybody gets that. Right?
Great idea. But what I also promised myself as well, because it's good to focus on creativity as well, because that is colorless. Creativity is colorless. And I, for a long time in my life, you know, I've been defined as a Black person, and of course I am, but there's also so much more to life, and I'm kind of working on Black happiness at the moment in myself. To not be, and I know other people are as well, to not be as reactive. The old ways and the way the old ways I reacted don't really necessarily serve me. I can develop them and be because I'm older now and a bit wiser and more confident, to, you know, I don't really feel the world's out to get me. And I think it's really good to start from that point of view. But then again, when you hear about a racial attack, it's still there. I heard one the other day about a young boy who was attacked in the eye, and his eye's been saved. And the reality of that is still there. But it doesn't mean to say that I'm walking around afraid every day of my life. I'm not. That's no way to live. But I hope to just keep on evolving. And also, it's called Brown Girl Films, but also I want to look at characters from the past, especially British because
Yes.
America, we've been British and Caribbean, because America, yes, they're trailblazers and everything, but there are people here with a history as well.
Absolutely.
And to in Britain, and to explore that, but also story. I want to be able to tell a story, so not just Black people, but people, and be a filmmaker that tells hopefully an engaging story.
And that's the powerful thing I think about your work, and even about Lillian and what you're going to do in future. And we'll definitely want to talk about what's been happening with Lillian so far. But it's the kind of normalizing. But even you calling your production company Brown Girl Films, it's a normalizing of diversity and Blackness, because we can move from, oh, this is really bad, to let's just tick the box and say we've done it. But there's still a kind of apartheid thinking that happens. So you can do your Black stuff as long as it's in a Black kind of context and just leave it there. But that the normalizing of it is where creativity comes in, and it's a natural, wonderful, joyful way of doing something quite powerful.
Thank you. Where did you get your saying about when the tide comes in, all the ships will rise? Is that an African saying?
I am not certain. I certainly didn't make it up, sadly, but it's I heard it from I don't remember. I've known it for a while, so I don't remember now where I first heard it.
In fact, I may use that as a little sort of Brown Girl Films, and then in a quote. For when the tide comes in, all the ships will rise, because that's the ethos.
Beautiful.
Hopefully,
I've actually contributed something to Cathy Tyson. This is awesome.
That's what I aim to be in, really. Normalizing. Just normalizing, and just it makes people think about brown girls, brown women. That can tend to be at the bottom of the pile. When in the food chain, but others will say no, there's even further to go bottom. It's not Black, just Brown Girl Films. I'd love to be able to tell you about one of the originators of this, the originator of the script. Would that be possible to bring? That would be
wonderful. Yes.
Right, peeps, everybody. Sorry, I caught him a bit off guard, but he's coming over. He did know about this. Hamid Darwish is my partner, and he
hello, Jenny.
Hello, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for joining us,
darling.
My darling, listen to that.
That's all right. I'll only be here for a couple of minutes. I know this is about Cathy, so.
Oh no! Do please stay. Do please stay. We were saying earlier we are extending the festival to. We really need to honor our writers, because without you, as Cathy rightly said, there would be no film. And you rescued the film in a specific way, right? So tell us about, how did you do that in such a short period of time?
I think what had happened was that I saw the Zoom between our producer Natasha and the other writer, won't mention any names.
Yes.
And I thought she was being a bit awful to Cathy, in the sense that you can't act and direct. People have been doing it for years. Kenneth Branagh. There are so many people. Yeah. And I said to Cathy, tell her you got a plan B, and we didn't have a plan B. And it didn't seem to work on her, and so the writer withdrew. So I sat Cathy down. I was saying, right, we're going to think of a new story now. We're going to think of a new story. I don't know what to think. I said, okay, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this. And eventually we came up with a rough shot. I read the memoirs, and one thing I did say to Cathy is that, what do you want me to mention in this script? And she said, I want to mention this, I want to mention that. And so I did. I got home on the Monday and I finished it on the Tuesday. And it was a 17-page script.
And I know we've kept you for much longer than we said we were going to, but it's been a treat, and we are so grateful to have you with us. So grateful to have Lillian in the I Will Tell Film Festival.
Yeah, thank you for your interest. I really appreciate that, and all your hard work. My God, you love film. You love film. Thank you so much, and thanks for everybody out there listening, and enjoy the film.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon. Take good care, and bye to Cami as well. Bye, Cami.
Yes, thank you. So she left the project and took her script with her. So I was left without a script. And
wow.
6 weeks to shoot. So my partner came in and said, okay, if you know, she doesn't do it, I'll write you a script. And in 24 hours, he wrote a short. He'd read the memoirs, 40-page memoirs of Lilian's, and we were in the Isle of Wight, right? Are you okay there? Don't worry.
Let's go to speak of you for a second.
So what? You know, life's short, isn't it?
This is hilarious. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry. Do you need to? Please don't get into the S word now.
Oh my goodness. The blooper of the year.